back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for
keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Friday, December 20th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, even though, of course, as we start the show, my camera decides to act up, but just wanted to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So, let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So, we're going to start off the show. We are going to talk about last night's game between the Chargers and the Broncos. The Chargers pulling off a comeback in that game and improving to 9-6 on the season. Both teams now are 9-6 on the season. The Chargers now have passed the Broncos in terms of the wild card in the AFC. They are now the fifth wild card team, the sixth wild card team, and the Broncos have now dropped to 7. So we'll talk about it. We'll also preview the Texans-Chiefs game. It looks like Patrick Mahomes is going to play, so we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the other game on Saturday as well between the Ravens and the Steelers. That is a big matchup in terms of playoff positioning as well when it comes to the AFC North. And then we'll also get into looking at the rest of the games for this weekend. We'll take a look at the college football playoff games, as well as the early slate of games on Sunday in the NFL in the fourth part of the show. And then in the final part of the show, we'll take a look at the rest of the slate on Sunday in the NFL. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the Chargers-Broncos game from last night. And got off to a rocky start for the Chargers. They were coming off of a loss against the Buccaneers, 40-17. Their defense got torched in that game. And it looked like we were heading towards a similar result last night early on. Because the Broncos, they went up and down the field. They were running the football, dominating the line of scrimmage. Chargers defense really just had no answers in the beginning of the game. And to the Chargers' credit, they were still able to come back and win this game. And like I said, they got the ball to start off the game, and the Broncos went 10 plays, 72 yards down the field, and then you had a rushing touchdown by Estime, a 3-yard touchdown. Chargers did respond, however. They went 8 plays, 70 yards down the field, and Gus Edwards from 1 yard out scored a touchdown. But then the Broncos scored yet another touchdown. Bo Nix connected with Michael Burton for a 1-yard touchdown, so that made it 14-7. Chargers then kicked a field goal on their next possession, and then the Broncos scored a touchdown. So 3 touchdowns on their first 3 possessions. Then we had a couple of punts to follow that, and then we had the Chargers driving, and Justin Herbert threw a pick, and this was in Denver territory. So really at this point, I thought, this is not looking good for the Chargers. However, what was interesting is towards the end of the first half, the Broncos, in the beginning, they tried to put together a drive to maybe get some points before the end of the half, but then the Chargers defense was kind of holding them down. So they kind of just ran the football on 3rd and 13, and they were kind of assuming that the Chargers were going to just let them run the clock down. But no, what ended up happening was Jim Harbaugh called the timeout, so the Broncos punted, and there ended up being a penalty on the play, fair catch interference, and that led to a free kick, which led to a Cameron Dicker 57-yard field goal right before the end of the first half, which is something that's rare. You don't usually see a free kick happen, but that's a rule. And the Chargers got 3 points, before the end of the first half. So that was kind of a momentum shifter there. But then the Broncos, they actually opened up the third quarter with a field goal drive. Will Lutz, a 41-yard field goal. But then the Chargers answered with a touchdown. They went for two, didn't get it. This was another Gus Edwards touchdown, a 5-yard touchdown now. So that made it 24-19. Then the Broncos then punted, and then the Chargers took the lead at that point. And on the touchdown pass, great throw by Justin Herbert to Darius Davis in the left side of the end zone. Kind of just flicked it to him as he was going to the ground, and Davis made the play. And, an unlikely receiver to make that catch, but that's who Herbert found. That's who Herbert's throwing to this year. So the Chargers then went up by 8. They got the 2-point conversion. Herbert connected with Joshua Palmer in the back of the end zone. So he tried to one-hand it, didn't catch it, and then he caught it with two hands off the rebound. And he was able to keep both feet in bounds to convert the 2. And, the Chargers were up by 3 at that point. Then we had some punts. The Broncos, punted twice. Chargers in between that, they punted. And then I was hoping that, to at least have the Broncos cover, that the Chargers would run out the clock. First 2 plays, there was no gain. You had Gus Edwards run the football. He didn't gain anything. And this is where I thought that the Chargers were doomed, was when Quinn Johnston dropped that pass on second down, where he was wide open and he just dropped it. And that's been a problem. That's been a problem over the course of his career. But then, on 3rd and 10, Herbert scrambled for a first down. 16-yard scramble to pick up the first down. And then, the following play, Gus Edwards, a 43-yard run. At one point, I thought he was going to take it to the house. But he got it down to the Broncos' 31-yard line. Then he lost 3 yards on the next play. But then Herbert, a little shuffle pass to Hassan Haskins, and that led to a 34-yard touchdown and a Cameron Dicker extra point that put them up by 10. So then what the Broncos ended up doing was they got into Will Lutz's range. They got to the 37-yard line. They kicked a 55-yard field goal. They got it. They went for the onside kick. They didn't get it. And the Chargers just ran out the clock. Herbert threw up a pass as time expired. Because the Broncos did have 2 timeouts left at that point. But, Broncos, they were in control of this game. But after that free kick, things changed. Justin Herbert had a very good second half. And, still a little banged up. They did interview him after the game. He said the ankle is doing better. But, he's definitely still feeling it, of course. But, they got some contributions out of the running game. Gus Edwards, like I said, 2 rushing touchdowns in this game, had that big run towards the end of the game that led to the Haskins touchdown. Herbert with the touchdown pass to Darius Davis, which was a great play. Ladd McConkey had 6 receptions for 87 yards. Good to have him back in this game. Joshua Palmer, like I said, caught the 2-point conversion. And you know what? Shout out to the Chargers defense. They really shut down this Broncos offense in the second half. The Chargers outscored them 21-6. And, if you take out that field goal towards the end of the game, it was 21-3. And Bo Nix was moving up and down the field. This running game for the Broncos was really working in the first half. But, they only finished with 110 rushing yards. I thought they were going to finish with more the way they were running the football in the beginning. But you also saw early on that Bo Nix had to check it down a lot. There was a lot of short passes. Really did not load it up at all during this game. There were a couple times where it looked like he wanted to take a deep shot. But he did take a deep shot at one point, but ended up being incomplete. But I know they did a flea flicker at one point during this game. But the safeties for the Chargers, Derwin James and Tony Jefferson, they didn't bite. So, the Bo Nix had to check it down. But, I thought the Chargers defense, they really stepped up in the second half. It didn't look good in the beginning. did not look good in the beginning. And, it didn't look good for Justin Herbert in the beginning because when they threw the interception towards the end of the first half, or he threw the interception towards the end of the first half in Broncos territory, you thought, yeah, this is just not looking like the Chargers' night. But the Broncos kind of cracked the door open when they tried to run out the clock, and then, you had the fair catch interference that led to the free kick, and that led to 3 points, and Justin Herbert had a good second half. So, now the Chargers, they're 9-6. The Broncos are 9-6. Chargers have the Patriots and the Raiders to finish off the season, which they should win both of those games, in my opinion, and get in. And then as for the Broncos, their last 2 games are tougher. You got the Bengals next week, who are still alive, mathematically, and then you have the Chiefs the following week. So, and maybe the Chiefs don't have anything to play for at that point. We'll see what happens these final few weeks here because they have home field advantage still up for grabs, and the Chiefs want to make sure they clinch that. So things could get very interesting down the stretch here with that final wildcard spot because, like I said, the Bengals, they still kind of have a chance. And, the Colts still have a chance. The Dolphins still have a chance. Those 6-8 teams, that was a big loss last night for the Broncos. And, to help out those teams a little bit, just to keep their hopes alive for, another week. But, no, I think, like I said yesterday when we went over the playoff picture, I think that the teams that we see in the playoffs right now, in the playoff picture, that's what we're going to get. I don't think you're going to see those 6-8 teams past the Broncos. But, if the Bengals beat the Broncos next week, I don't know. All of a sudden you think maybe there's a chance. We'll have to wait and see on that. But it was an entertaining game last night. A bounce-back game for the Chargers. They definitely need that, especially after being embarrassed at home by Baker Mayfield and that Buccaneers offense. That defense stepped up, and Justin Herbert stepped up. Ryan Fitzpatrick had some strong comments about him earlier in the week, and Justin Herbert delivered. And I do think that next year, if you can improve this receiving core and, continue to build up this roster, this is going to be a dangerous Chargers team. They have the right head coach in place. They have the right quarterback. I don't think, how this roster is constructed, and, I wouldn't blame Justin Herbert for some of these losses this year. Ultimately, yeah, in some of these games, yeah, he could have played better. But, this roster is not up to par yet, and they got to get some more help for him. And when they do that, this team is going to be very dangerous moving forward, and it's dangerous now. And I was impressed by Gus Edwards last night. He did provide a little bit of a jolt at times. Hassan Haskins scoring the touchdown. They were doing this without J.K. Dobbins, so now I think he's supposedly going to get activated off of IR next week. So if they can get him back, that's huge for this offense going forward. And he got McConkey back, which is huge as well. So, yeah, no, look, this Chargers team, I don't expect them to go on a Super Bowl run, but, they could still be dangerous in the playoffs. They have the potential to do that. But they're going to have to do it going on the road. So we'll see what happens, but they get the win. Both teams now 9-6. Let me know what you guys think about this game from last night. What were your takeaways from it? Let me know in comments. And I just realized that this whole time I had the second segment on the bottom instead of the first one. But anyways, you guys get the idea, though. So we're going to take our first break of the show now. And then when we come back, we will preview the Texans-Chiefs game. C.J.Stroud and Patrick Mahomes will be facing off for the first time, as long as Mahomes is going to play, which it looks like he will. So make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day. and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant, I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about the Texans-Chiefs game for tomorrow. Patrick Mahomes against C.J.Stroud will be the first matchup between these two quarterbacks. And now we could change the segment title to what that was, even though you guys saw that pretty much the whole segment. But it's kind of in the zone there, talking about the Chargers-Broncos game. But yeah, so Chiefs-Texans, that will be the first game of the doubleheader tomorrow to go along with some of the college football playoff games that we have tomorrow as well. A lot of football tomorrow on Saturday, so it should be a good one. Yeah, so Mahomes is coming in, he's playing most likely, but barring a setback or if the Chiefs just want to hold him out. But yeah, he's trending towards playing. And, yeah, so it was made official. He doesn't carry an injury designation for Saturday's game. Adam Teicher of ESPN.com reports. So, apologize if I butchered his name there. But, yeah, so Mahomes is going to play. And that changes this game because, as opposed to if Carson Wentz was going to start. Now, the Chiefs' offense, I mean, how many times am I going to say it? It has not been great this season. But despite that, they only have one loss. And, home field advantage is in their sights. You still got the Bills who are behind them. And the Bills have the tiebreaker if they were to finish with the same record. So this is an important game for the Chiefs. The Texans, they're kind of locked in to the 4 seed at the moment. Now, if they could win their next 2 games, knock off the Ravens and, knock off the Chiefs here, because they'll be playing the Ravens on Christmas, and maybe they kind of root for the Steelers to lose tomorrow as well. Maybe the Texans find themselves, getting maybe a higher seed. Maybe they get the 3rd seed. I don't think that's going to happen. I think when it's all said and done, the Texans are going to be the 4. And that's been an offense that's kind of struggled as well this year. C.J.Stroud has not been as good as he was last year. Now, I do think he's still a very good quarterback, and I think, he's definitely a top 10 quarterback, and, he's got the top 5 potential. But right now, he hasn't really been playing like that. So this is an important game for him. These next 2 games for the Texans are statement games for them, because this will really show me what they're made of come postseason time. Now, the good thing for them is they have the division locked up, but now it's all about seeding. Where is this team going to finish? Now, I keep saying it's going to be the 4. So right now, they would be slated to take on the Ravens. Now, that could very well change after these next 2 weeks, because the Steelers, they'll be taking on the Ravens and the Chiefs. Same thing as the Texans, just in reverse. And, the Chiefs, the Chiefs and the Ravens played each other week 1, so we will not be seeing them square off. Even though that would have been nice if they would have put this game a little bit later in the season, that game a little bit later in the season. But, that was a great way to start off the NFL season. That was a very good game. But, yeah, when it comes to this game, though, I expect the Chiefs to win with Patrick Mahomes being at quarterback. What I do worry about is this Texans pass rush getting to Mahomes and hurting him even more. because they got a pretty good defense. And, Derek Stingley, he's coming off of a solid performance last week against the Dolphins, picking off Tua a couple times. And, you got Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter up front. So, yeah, I do worry about the protection or lack thereof for Mahomes in this game against this Texans defense. But ultimately, what is C.J.Stroud going to do in this game? This is on the road. It's cold. Is he going to be able to step up in this game? And, can the Texans get a big win here? I think they definitely could. This was a team in the beginning of the year that I had very high expectations for. And I thought that they could be one of those teams that could maybe knock off the Chiefs. And right now, I can't say they'd be that team. Right now, I think the team that has the best chance of knocking off the Chiefs, at least on the AFC side, is the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion. Because I just think that this could be the year of the Bills and the year of Josh Allen. Now, we've said that in years past, and look what happened. But I think if I were to choose one of the teams that's on the AFC side who can knock off the Chiefs, it's Josh Allen. Because even in the losses to the Chiefs, Josh Allen has played well in the playoffs. It's just Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have played better. So, yeah, right now I just don't think the Texans are going to be that team. Now, that doesn't mean they can't, because I've been wrong about plenty of things. But right now, I don't have confidence in them to do it. On the Chiefs side of things, when it comes to their offense, Isaiah Pacheco's still, trying to get his footing back after missing some time, and they also, let go of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the Saints picked him up because of the injury to Alvin Kamara. So right now, yeah, you got Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, and Samaje Perine. That's your backfield going forward. And Kareem Hunt, I think keeping him on board, it's a good decision because Kareem Hunt, again, not what he used to be and not really, Isaiah Pacheco can catch passes out of the backfield. Kareem Hunt can still do that, but, Pacheco's a better pass catcher at this point. And Samaje Perine's a better pass catcher too. But Kareem Hunt's a guy that has definitely come in and, can still give Pacheco a breather, because, again, Pacheco's still trying to find his footing. So, and, Xavier Worthy, he had a good game last week against the Browns, had that rushing touchdown. And DeAndre Hopkins was a good pickup as well. Travis Kelce, I'm looking to see, is he going to have a good game here in this spot? Kelsey's kind of been quiet in recent weeks. Did have that 3 or 4 game stretch where he looked like, the Travis Kelce of old, but, it's been kind of quiet as of late. So maybe the Chiefs get him going here. And then defensively for the Chiefs, can they get after C.J.Stroud? That one of the reasons why the Texans have kind of, been a little bit disappointing is C.J.Stroud has had a lack of protection similar to Mahomes. That offensive line has not been great at times this year, and he's gotten banged around. So, the Chiefs could definitely take advantage of that. They got the pass rush to do it. It's going to be up to C.J.Stroud and his receivers, his running game to kind of overcome that. Joe Mixon, what kind of game is he going to have in this game? He's gone against the Chiefs plenty of times. Did struggle last week, didn't really get anything going on offense. So, what is he going to do in this spot? Will he have a bounce-back game? We'll have to wait and see. But Nico Collins, he had a couple of touchdowns last week. Didn't have a ton of yards, but like I said, did score a couple of touchdowns. Hopefully get him going, get Dalton Schultz going, Tank Dell. And we'll see. I think this will be a close game, but I do lean towards the Chiefs in this matchup because they're at home, and they just always seem to find a way to win games, to win these close games. And Mahomes is a little banged up, so I am worried about that. But, now it's, the Chiefs, they checked off 2 boxes. Playoff spot, division. Now it's home field advantage. They have their sights on that, and they're going to get it. So I think they are going to win this game, and I don't really trust this Texans team on the road in this hostile environment. But we'll see. Maybe they lean on Joe Mixon. If they can establish a running game here, and you rely on Joe Mixon, yeah, that kind of changes the game. It opens up play action for the passing game. I just think, this game, I just think back to last year when they took on the Ravens. I don't think we're going to see that. We're not going to see them get blown out. It's going to be close. But I just see C.J.Stroud in this offense struggling. What is the weather going into this game? So, yeah, it's going to be 39 degrees. It's going to be sunny, though, if that even helps. But, yeah, I kind of see the Texans struggling a little bit offensively. And, yeah, I think the Chiefs do win this game. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be, like a 23-20 game, something like that. Something close. Because, last night I had 24-20 for the Thursday night game, and it was 24-19 at one point because the Chargers went for 2, but then the Chargers then scored 34 points, and then the Broncos kicked a field goal at the end of the game and then went for the onside kick. But, yeah, I could see this game being lower scoring because that's what the Chiefs have been playing. They've been playing some of these games, they've been pretty low scoring. I mean, last week against the Browns was 21-7. The week before that, it was 19-17. The week before that was 19-17 against the Chargers and the Raiders. So I see this being low scoring. I'm curious to see how this game plays out, though. But, yeah, I got the Chiefs winning, and that's, puts them one step closer to getting home field advantage once again in the playoffs. But let me know what you guys think about this game. Who do you think wins? Let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So when we come back from our next break, we will also talk about the other Saturday game, and that is between two AFC North rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. So we'll get into that discussion when we return. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about the AFC North rematch between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. So let's kind of get into that. So right now, the Steelers, they are currently, right, they're 10-4 on the season? Yeah, 10-4 on the season. Ravens are 9-5. So this is a big game because I do believe if the Ravens win this, then they pass the Steelers in the division. I mean, they'll both be tied, but I think the Ravens will hold the tiebreaker, I want to say. But yeah, and I've said this constantly, the Steelers cannot afford to be a wild card team again. Yeah, be a wild card team. Yeah, well, yeah, be a wild card team again and lose this division. They can't. Steeler fans want this team to host a playoff game and with a full crowd this time around and win a playoff game for the first time in 8 years. Can they do that? Well, we have to wait and see. But this is a very big game for both teams. Last time these two teams played against each other, the Ravens, they beat themselves. Justin Tucker did not have a good game. You know, you had Derrick Henry fumbling on the first possession of the game. And the Steelers actually did a nice job limiting Derrick Henry in that game. He did score a touchdown, but they held him to 65 yards rushing. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that again. I hope they do for my sake because I'm going against them in fantasy in the playoffs. But that is going to be a tall task. Now, I wasn't sure about the status of T.J.Watt going into this game, but it is being reported that he is going to play. So that's good because anytime T.J.Watt misses an extended period of time or any time, the Steelers' defense is not the same. It just falls apart. So him playing in this game is massive. Now, a player that will not be active for this game is once again George Pickens. He is going to miss yet another matchup or another game here. Has missed the last couple of weeks. Steelers did miss him last week against the Eagles, and now they're not going to have him here. And we did see the Steelers' offense. They struggled. Now, the game kind of turned against the Eagles when, they had that, botched handoff, that botched pitch by Russell Wilson to Najee Harris. And that led to 7 points for the Eagles. That turned into a drive that led to a touchdown. So the Steelers, offensively, I think they're going to struggle again in this game. Now, what's going to keep them in it is the defense. And like I said, with T.J. Watt playing, we saw what he did against the Eagles on Sunday. Jalen Hurts is running with the football, scrambling around, and then Watt comes out of nowhere and just knocks the ball out and causes a fumble that leads to the Steelers jumping on it and creating a turnover there. And, Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson have similar playing styles. They are mobile quarterbacks, and I do think Lamar Jackson is the better of the two, but still, the Steelers just went up against a mobile quarterback, and now they're going up against a quarterback that they've had success against. Lamar Jackson is 1-4 against the Steelers in his career. And it's surprising because you would think, why is he only 1-4? Well, to be honest, I don't really know. But part of the reason is because he's been injured or he hasn't played in some of the matchups when they've gone against him. Because you got to remember, last year, the final game of the season, the Ravens played their backups because they had the 1 seed locked up. There was the other year where the Steelers needed to win, and then the Chargers and the Ravens were playing that night, and they didn't need a tie. If a tie happened, then they wouldn't have made the playoffs, and then the Raiders ended up winning, and the Steelers and the Raiders both got into the playoffs. But that game actually almost ended in a tie. But Tyler Huntley was playing in the game earlier that day when the Steelers won. That was Ben Roethlisberger's final year. And then Tyler Huntley was also playing, I believe, in the game where Kenny Pickett went on that fourth quarter drive that led to the Najee Harris touchdown. So, yeah, actually, in 2021, the Steelers swept the season series. And then I think in 2020, well, Lamar actually didn't play in that Wednesday game. They did play in Baltimore. That was, again, during the COVID season. That was with Big Ben, and the Steelers won that. So, yeah, Lamar Jackson just has not had that much success against the Steelers in his career when he does play. The only game that he's won is when Mason Rudolph was the quarterback. And that was back in 2019. Actually, that was the game when Mason Rudolph took that vicious hit by Earl Thomas, and he got knocked out of the game, and they had to put in Devlin Hodges. So, yeah, no, he's 1-4. You would not think that. But you know what? The Steelers, they find a way. They find a way. They play in these close games with the Ravens. They play them tough, and they win. They win these games. Now, this game is in Baltimore, and the Ravens' defense, very good run defense. Pass defense has not been good. But I do think against the Steelers this week, I think the defense will play well. The Steelers, like I said, they struggled without George Pickens. I think it's going to be tough for them in this matchup. And I kind of lean towards the Ravens here. I think Lamar Jackson and that team, they want to get revenge for that game earlier in the year. I don't expect Justin Tucker to miss multiple field goals in this game, even though he hasn't been great. I get it. But that was part of the reason why the Ravens lost that game, is because of Justin Tucker missing field goals. And also, I don't think Derrick Henry's going to fumble in this game again. Now, if he does, I'll come back, on the 30th, and I'll say, yeah, I was wrong about that. Didn't see that coming again. It's very rare to see Derrick Henry lose the rock, but he did. So I don't think the Ravens are going to beat themselves in this game. I do expect this game to be somewhat close, but maybe as the game goes along, I think it could play out kind of similar to how this game between the Eagles and the Steelers played on Sunday, where, the Steelers keep it close, they're in the game, but then the Ravens kind of pull away at the end. I think I kind of see that happening. So I am leaning towards the Ravens in this game. I think they win by at least a touchdown. The spread right now, I think, is 5.5. I want to say. Actually, no. The spread actually dropped down. Oh, no. Never mind. I was looking at the game from earlier this year. So actually, the spread went up to 6.5. So, yeah, 6.5 is a lot of points that you're giving to the Steelers. But, again, I just think they're going to struggle offensively without George Pickens. And the Ravens are a good run defense. So, it's going to be up to Russell Wilson in that passing game to try to put up points. And, without George Pickens, it's going to be tough. So, Calvin Austin, Mike Williams, those guys are going to have to step up, along with Pat Freiermuth, who scored another touchdown against the Eagles last week. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the Ravens in this game. I think Lamar Jackson will play well enough. I think Derrick Henry will have a good game as well. I don't think he's going to get held down to 65 rushing yards. Now, if he does, great. I'll take that, because, after what Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton did last night, I'm down 28-0 to start off the week, which, again, it's going to happen. I didn't have anybody playing last night. I need Chris Boswell to have a big game. I'd be okay with the Steelers just kicking 6 field goals again and then winning, another 18-16 game, and Derrick Henry doesn't do good. Sign me up for that. I'll take that. If I don't win this pick, that's fine. As long as I can win my fantasy matchup, I'll take it. But yeah, I think Derrick Henry will have a good game. T.J.Watt will, in that pass rush, will make plays. They'll make Lamar Jackson's life difficult at times. But ultimately, I just think the Ravens, I think the Ravens will pull away, win this game. I'll say they win, like 27-17, something like that. And, this would be a big loss for the Steelers. That would be 2 straight. And all of a sudden, Steeler fans will start saying, yep, here we go again. So, I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. Now, thankfully, after this game, their final 2 games are at home. Now, again, they could go in and win that game. And then, again, I'll come in on the 30th. And I'll say, oh, yeah, I was wrong. The Steelers got the win. But, yeah, this is a tough game. The final 2 games are at home, though, for them. If they do lose, they play the Chiefs, which is going to be tough, and the Bengals. Both games are going to be tough, but they are at home, and maybe George Pickens will be back. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I like the Ravens in this game. Sorry, Steeler fans. My dad's a Steelers fan, so probably not going to like hearing me say that. Also, one of our sports writers, Matt, is also a Steelers fan. Now, again, listen, I have some allegiance to the Steelers because, like I said, my dad's a Steelers fan, but it's just got to lean towards the Ravens. But you know what? Look, it's not like I've been great at picking games this year with the spreads. So, we'll see. I've done better, obviously, picking, straight up. But, yeah, I got to go with the Ravens here. So, I don't think the Ravens are going to beat themselves. And, yeah, I just think they're going to get the win here. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think, though, about this game. Who do you think wins? Let me know in the comments. We could see a shift in the AFC North. Who leads that division by the end of the week? So, we are going to take our next break. And then when we come back, we will talk about the college football playoff games. We'll talk about the early slate of games as well on Sunday in the NFL. I'll give you my spread picks for those games as well. I did see a post on Instagram. I don't know who posted it. I think I'm hoping it's Bleacher Report. It was not Bleacher Report. But basically, it showed like the schedule for the next couple weeks. Or maybe it was the NFL's Instagram. No, it was not the NFL's Instagram. But basically, it just showed, all the football games we're going to be getting over the next, few weeks. And, there's very few days where there's not going to be a game going on. We got games tonight. We got games tomorrow, game Sunday, a game on Monday. You have the Hawaii Bowl on Tuesday. You also got games on Christmas. You got the Thursday night game. Got a couple of bowl games then. Some more bowl games on Friday the 27th. And obviously, college football playoff continues. The NFL regular season. And then we get to the NFL playoffs. And then, after divisional weekend, that Monday is the national championship game on January 20th, exactly a month from today. So, yeah, there's a lot of football going on from now until the Super Bowl. So, yeah, no, it's a fun time to be a football fan. And we got Indiana and Notre Dame to start off the college football playoff tonight. And then we got some of the games tomorrow as well to go along with, the two Saturday NFL games. So, yeah, a lot of football to digest. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's we'll discuss the college football playoff matchups as well as the early slate of games in the NFL when we come back. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about college football playoff games as well as the early slate of games in the NFL on Sunday, Week 16 in the NFL. So, college football playoff gets started tonight. You got the number 8 team, Indiana, 11-1 on the year, going up against the number 5 team, Notre Dame, at 11-1 as well. Notre Dame is 6.5-point favorites, and there's some snow expected in the forecast. So it should be interesting how that plays out. I would love to see the Hoosiers win this game, just because, they've been a surprise team, and, their only loss is to Ohio State this year, and, Ohio State, beat them up in that game 38-15. Which not really surprised by, but it happened, and they went down the field and scored a touchdown on their first drive of the game. So you thought, oh, this game was going to be competitive, but yeah, that was their only loss. And earlier in the year for Notre Dame, they lost that game to who was it? Northern Illinois at home, 16-14. Other than that, they've won every other game. So, when it comes to this game, I'm probably going to take Notre Dame. But I would like to see Indiana win. That would be a nice story for them to move on. Quarterback is Curtis Rourke. I think that's how you pronounce his name. 27 touchdowns to 4 picks. He's had a good season. Yeah, no. And when you look at the comparison between the two teams, Notre Dame likes to run the football. They're top 10 in running the football. They average 224.8 rushing yards per game. And Indiana's 27th in passing yards per game. Notre Dame is 101st. They average under 200 yards passing. Indiana averages 265.2. Actually, both teams are top 3 in points per game. Indiana averages 43.3 points per game, and Notre Dame averages 39.8. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, obviously, weather's going to be a factor. But yeah, I like Notre Dame to win. The 6.5, I mean, I maybe lean towards taking the points, but I'm gonna take Notre Dame though to win at least. So then tomorrow, you got SMU and Penn State, Clemson and Texas, and then Tennessee and Ohio State. All good games. Penn State looks like they're going to be doing a whiteout game. Actually, the first 2 games are on TNT. SMU and Penn State's on TNT. Clemson and Texas on TNT as well. And then Tennessee, Ohio State, that's on ABC. And there's snow in the forecast for the Ohio State-Tennessee game. I do like Penn State to win. Maybe lean towards taking the points. SMU, got to give them a little bit of credit, for at least, coming back and tying the game against Clemson in the ACC championship game. Because, I think if that score was uglier and, had they not pulled off that comeback, maybe they'd be on the outside looking in. I don't know. That's just me saying that as an outsider. They're 8.5-point underdogs here. 8.5 is a decent amount of points. I am going to take Penn State to win, but I think this game could be close. And then you got Clemson and Texas. A little bit of a quarterback controversy with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. Quinn Ewers has struggled at times. Clemson, coming off of that win against SMU, like I just said. Lean towards Texas in this game. They're 12-point favorites here. I'm going to lean towards Texas here in this game. The Ohio State-Tennessee game is interesting. Obviously, they lost that game to Michigan. And the whole planting the flag thing, and that was an ugly game. That was an ugly game for them, and that was the last time they played a football game. That was on November 30th. So, they're gonna want to come out and get this win here. Now, like I said, there's snow in the forecast. Tennessee is a good team. I'm gonna say Ohio State does win this game, but I would take the 7.5. I think this game is gonna be close. But it's going to be up to Will Howard in that passing game. I mean, they didn't really do much against Michigan. Let's see you air it out a little bit. As opposed to what happened against Michigan. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be locked into these games. I mean, I'm going to have to have multiple games on at the same time because I got the NFL games on and. You're also going to have these games on as well. They're all going to be overlapping each other. The SMU Penn State game, gets us started. And then, Chiefs Texans will be on an hour after that. So then we'll have those for a little bit. And then, you'll have Clemson and Texas on at the same time as the Steelers Ravens game, which will kick off a half hour after that. And then at night, you got Tennessee Ohio State. So we'll see how it goes. But they should be entertaining games. I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, going to keep an eye on going to be locked into the Indiana-Notre Dame game that's on tonight. So let's get into some of these other games now, shall we, in the NFL. The early slate of games on Sunday. So already I'm 0-1 to start off the week. I had the Broncos last night. It was looking good. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't good after that. So, Bengals-Browns. Browns are getting 9 points in this game. DTR will be starting in this matchup. They benched Jameis Winston. I do like the Bengals to win. Now, 9 points is a lot. It's 7.5 in my spread pool. There's going to be no Nick Chubb in this game, broken foot. Really, upset about that because I do like Nick Chubb. And, a lot of people are fans of Nick Chubb, and it's just unfortunate, that had to happen. He worked his way back from that gruesome knee injury, and now he's out for the year. So hopefully he bounces back. But, yeah, 9 is a lot of points. It's 7.5 in my spread pool. I mean, I'd probably maybe lean towards taking the points here just because the Bengals defense has not been good. Now, they took the ball away from Tennessee a lot last week. So, maybe here, DTR making another start, they take advantage of that. The Bengals offense has been good all year. I mean, they're averaging almost 30 points a game. So, I think the Bengals win in this spot, but it would not surprise me if the Browns cover. In my spread pool, I took the Bengals, to cover the 7.5. 9 is a lot of points, but I'm going to say the Bengals do win by at least 2 scores here. These are playoff games for them right now because they're trying to, keep their season alive. So I'll take the Bengals and I'll lay the points, even though that is a lot. Then we move on to the Giants and the Falcons. Michael Penix Jr. is now the starting quarterback, and the Falcons are 8.5-point favorites against the Giants. Believe it or not, I will be taking the Giants in this game with the points. I do think the Falcons still win, but I do think the Giants will hang around, keep it close. I think Michael Penix will play well. I think this is a good spot for him just because the Giants, not very good. And I'll leave it at that. And, he's got good weapons around him. He did sit for most of the year, so I think he's gonna play well in his debut. But I don't think it's gonna be well enough where the Giants are not gonna cover. I think the Falcons win, but the Giants cover. Drew Lock is gonna be starting in this game, so I think the Giants will keep it close. And if they don't, then I don't know what to say. Then we got an interesting game, kind of. The Panthers and the Cardinals. Panthers coming off of that loss against the Cowboys. That was kind of the first game since Bryce Young has stepped back into the starting role that, he didn't really play well. The Cowboys defense gave him a tough time. The Cardinals, they're coming off of a win against the Patriots, 30-17. I actually am going to say the Panthers pull off the upset here. I think this is the game where the Panthers, they did get a win against, the Saints and the Giants back in November, and, they've been playing in close games for the most part, except for last week. I think this is a game that they maybe pull off the upset here. Because, I kind of do worry about Kyler Murray in certain spots. And I think, in this spot, maybe he doesn't play well. I think the ground game for the Cardinals will work. I think James Conner will have a good game. I need him to have a good game. And I think Bryce Young will have a bounce-back game from last week. I mean, at least I think they'll cover, but I am going to lean towards, saying they pull off the upset. Be a little risky here. So I like the Panthers. Then we got the Bears and the Lions. Bears are getting 6.5 points. The Lions, of course, dealing with a ton of injuries. Now, I was watching the NFL Network last night, and David Montgomery was getting, I think this was he got a second opinion. I think he got a third opinion as well. So there's maybe a chance that Montgomery might not be out the entire season, entire rest of the season. There's a chance that maybe he comes back for the playoffs. So that would be huge. But yeah, I mean, they're still dealing with a ton of injuries on defense. I actually do like the Bears to cover in this spot. I think the Lions win, but I'll say the Bears cover. 6.5 is a lot of points. And I just think with all the injuries that they're dealing with on defense, I think the Bears could take advantage of that. But you know what? You got to do something in the first half. It just seems like every game, they don't do anything in the first half, but then their offense does a little bit and wakes up in the second half. So I do like the Bears to cover, but I'll still say the Lions win. Then we got the Titans and the Colts. Mason Rudolph will now be starting over Will Levis. Will Levis got benched after throwing 3 picks. Last week, it was 3 picks, right? It was either 3 or 4. Will Levis he threw 3 picks. I actually like the Titans in this spot to cover. The line dropped down to 3.5. I think it was at 4.5. And now it dropped down to 3.5. But yeah, I like the Titans to at least cover. I think they could maybe get the win as well. Anthony Richardson did not play well against the Broncos last week. I think he'll bounce back, but I actually do like the Titans to win with Mason Rudolph starting. So I'll take them. Then we got the Jaguars. That's the next segment. We got the Rams and the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, coming off a 3-touchdown performance. Devontae Adams, almost 200 yards receiving in that game. And then, you got the Rams coming off of yet another win, 12-6 against the Niners last week. Look, the Jets defense is not good. The Jets defense still got carved up by Mac Jones in that offense. I think Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, their offense will, I think they'll play okay. But I just ultimately think the Rams, they're in that mode right now where they're trying to, win out, get this division, and, host a playoff game. I think the Rams win this game. They cover the 3. The Jets are getting the points. I just think the Jets defense is not going to be able to stop that Rams offense. And it's just going to be too much to overcome. And I like the Rams to win. So give me the Rams. And then, interesting matchup here, NFC East matchup. Phillies and Commanders. Commanders are getting 3.5 at home. Actually almost lost to the Saints. Because the Saints, scored a touchdown at the end, made it 20-19, and they went for 2 to try to win it. And ended up not getting it. So Commanders are pretty close to losing that. Jane Daniels made a couple of nice throws. I mean, that touchdown to Terry McLaurin was amazing. But I do like the Eagles to win and cover the number here. They did well against them last time. Saquon Barkley had a big game. And he usually does well against Washington. So I'm actually going to take the Eagles, and I think they cover the number, although I could definitely see that game backfiring. So, yeah, those are my picks for college football playoff as well as the early slate of games. So we are going to take our final break of the show now, and then when we come back, we will preview and pick the rest of the Week 16 slate in the NFL, and that will take us right down to the end of the show. So for one final time today, make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the final part of the show, we are going to now preview the late slate of games for Week 16 in the NFL. I'll give you my picks for those, so let's get into that. So we'll start off with the Vikings and the Seahawks. So the Vikings coming off of another win against the Bears, and the Seahawks coming off of a loss against the Packers. A bad performance for them. Geno Smith got hurt. I think he will play in this game. There's rain in the forecast. The Seahawks are 3-point underdogs. I do like the Vikings in this spot. I think they're the better team. And look, this is an important game for both teams. The Vikings, they want to keep pace with the Lions for the division. And also, they're tied with the Lions and the Eagles for the 1 seed, technically. So if the Lions could somehow, or if the Vikings can win this game and maybe the Lions lose and maybe the Eagles lose to Washington, then all of a sudden the Vikings are back to being the 1 seed. And they were undefeated to start the year. Let's not forget, they were, 5-0 to start off the season. So, the 1 seed is still up for grabs for them. For the Seahawks, this is a big game for them too, because I do believe that, you lose this game and then the Rams beat the Jets. I mean, I don't really like their chances. I don't really like their chances now. I do think that the Rams ultimately are going to win this division. I just think they're the better team of the two. And, it might come down to that final game of the season for the division. But, it's the Seahawks got a tough path here because you got the Vikings. I think the Bears, visiting them, that's going to be tough. And then, you got the Rams to finish off the year. So, not looking good. I think I'm pretty sure they're going to be getting Kenneth Walker back for this game because they missed him these last couple of weeks. I mean, Zach Charbonnet has done a nice job filling in. Let's see. I think... Yeah, so Kenneth Walker doesn't have an injury designation. He logged a full practice on Thursday. He's dealing with a calf injury. But, he's good to go. Might be Charbonnet that's out. Actually, no, he logged a limited practice. He's dealing with an oblique injury. But, and Geno Smith, I think, is going to play. Because, I think if Sam Howell was playing that game, they'd have no shot the way he looked on Sunday. But I do like the Vikings to win. Sam Darnold has played really well as of late. And I think that continues here. And it was interesting because... you heard "Go Pack, Go" chants. And it was like, wow, I mean, Seattle used to be the place you didn't want to go play because of that crowd. But, recently, things have kind of changed. Now, I do think, Seattle has better days ahead for them because they have a very good roster. And I think Mike McDonald, it seems like he's done a good job for them this year. It's not like I've really paid close attention to the Seahawks, locked into them all year. But I do think if they get, because I don't think Geno Smith is the long-term answer at quarterback. I think if they can get the right quarterback in here, this team is going to be very good for a long time. They have the roster. But and Geno has been a nice story these last few years, but I just think you're kind of limited with what you got with him right now. And I'm not saying Sam Howell is the answer, but I'm just saying maybe you have to, change it up. I don't know. We'll see if maybe they move off of him. But yeah, I like the Vikings to win and cover. This game has a big spread. You got the Bills and the Patriots. Bills coming off of that win against the Lions, and the Patriots coming off of that loss against the Cardinals. And the Bills usually beat up on the Patriots. I think that continues here. Josh Allen has been unbelievable this year. Right now, he's the front runner for MVP. And I just think they're going to continue their winning ways here in this spot against the Patriots. The Bills really have beaten up on the Patriots these last few years, and I really do think that's going to continue here. Drake May, look, he has looked good for the Pats. And I think if they continue to surround him with more talent, he's going to be a good quarterback. The way it looks right now, the Patriots seem like they have found their franchise guy. But I just think in this spot here, Josh Allen and that Bills offense is going to be too much to handle here, and I think they win. It's a big number, 14. The Patriots are getting, but I like the Bills to win and cover. And then moving on to the Raiders and Jaguars game. Raiders are going to be getting Aiden O'Connell back, so that's good. He had Desmond Ridder playing on Monday, and he really didn't play that good. So good for the Raiders pass catchers for getting him back, and I think the Raiders are going to have to throw the ball because they really don't have a running game. I think they placed Sincere McCormick on IR, and Alexander Madison really hasn't given them anything. And the Jaguars' pass defense, their defense overall has not been good. So I do think that Aiden O'Connell could maybe have a decent game. The Jaguars, they're coming off of a loss against the Jets. Mac Jones played well in that game. I think he could play well in this spot. I think both quarterbacks will do okay in this spot. But I think the Raiders, they finally, pick up a win here. They're at home. Aiden O'Connell's back in as the starting quarterback. Right now, he's the best option going forward here until, they draft one. I like the Raiders to get the win here at home. Don't feel great about it, but I like them in this spot, so I'm going to take the Raiders. And then we got the 49ers and the Dolphins, and I've been going back and forth with this game. Now Isaac Guerrero for the 49ers, he hasn't practiced, so they might not have him in this game. So it's going to be up to Patrick Taylor and Abenaconda, I guess, to be their running backs for this game, and I guess you'll throw Deebo Samuel back there as well. But yeah, the 49ers and the Dolphins, two teams that have been disappointments this year, but mainly because of injuries. I think if you had a healthy 49ers squad the whole year, if Tua was healthy the whole year, these two teams would be in playoff spots right now. And it's not the case. Right now, the Dolphins are actually favored. I've been going back and forth with this game. I'm leaning towards the Dolphins just because they're at home and they're the healthier team. But, the 49ers, there's still a sliver of hope that maybe they could somehow find their way into the playoffs. It's not going to happen. But they're still technically alive. So this is a big game for them. Last week against the Rams, they only put up 6 points. Brock Purdy did not play well. There's showing rain in the forecast. If there's rain again, Brock Purdy has not played well in bad weather. And that's how it's been 2 of the last 3 weeks. So, if it's like that here, is it going to be more of the same? So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, I kind of lean towards the Dolphins here in this spot with them being at home. But, subject to change as we go into the weekend. And then finally, we'll also do the Monday night game as well because, like I said, no show on Monday. We got the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. Bucs are 4-point favorites. That offense is rolling. Baker Mayfield, 4 touchdown passes. Mike Evans, I think he's 271 receiving yards away from 1,000 yards. So, and Baker said, that's all he's been thinking about. So they're trying to get him to 1,000 yards, and I think he is going to get it. I think he has I think both guys have big games here. The Cowboys, they got the win last week against the Panthers. Cooper Rush, I think, had 3 touchdown passes. He's been decent since he's taken over for Dak, with Dak being out for the season. But I do like the Bucs to win and cover. I think, they win by at least a touchdown. I just think it's going to be tough for the Cowboys to keep up with that Bucs offense. They're rolling. And I think they're going to roll all the way into the playoffs, the way they're playing. This is kind of like the last little hurdle I think they have to take. Because I think the final 2 games being at home, I think they should beat the Panthers and they should beat the Saints because Derek Carr is out for the year. But who knows? I could definitely. It wouldn't surprise me if the Cowboys won, but I think the Bucs, the way they're playing right now, they should win this game and go to 9-6. And then we go to the Monday night game between the Packers and the Saints. Like I said, there's no Derek Carr. He's out for the year. There's snow in the forecast. So it's going to be very cold. Packers are 14-point favorites. Again, that is a big number. But I just, with the Packers being at home, I think that defense is going to get after Spencer Rattler. He's going to start this game. I think Jair Alexander might be coming back for this game. He might be healthy. Yeah, I don't see him listed. No, I don't see him listed on the injury report. Could be getting Luke Musgrave back, the other tight end, because they've been missing him the whole year. It's been Tucker Kraft mostly. So, yeah, no, I do like the Packers to win. If it's going to be a snow game, Josh Jacobs, just lean on him the whole time and let the Packers defense shut down the Saints offense. I think the Packers win and cover, even though, again, it's a big, big number. But we'll see what happens. So to kind of run through it, I like the Bengals to win and cover, Giants to cover, Falcons to win, Panthers to actually win as the underdog and cover. Along with that, I like the Bears to cover, but the Lions to win, Titans to cover and win, Eagles to win and cover, Rams to win and cover, Vikings to win and cover, Bills to win and cover, Raiders to win and cover. Right now, Dolphins to win and cover over the 49ers. Buccaneers to win and cover, and then the Packers to win and cover as well. Those will all not be right. Again, I'm going to have to take a deep look at those games and see. But, that is pretty much it, though, for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well throughout the day. And we will be back December 30th. That will be the next show. No shows next week, so you'll get a break from me. December 30th, there'll be a show. There'll be no shows December 31st through January 2nd. Then we'll be back on Friday, January 3rd, and then we're rocking and rolling again. But, so no shows next week. Anthony in the chat, good to hear from you before we sign off here. I missed the game last night. Did Herbert go off and throw for over 300 yards? No, he didn't throw for 300 yards, but he did have a very good second half, and the Chargers pulled off a comeback win against the Broncos. Had a nice touchdown pass to Darius Davis, left side of the end zone, and made some big plays when he had to. And the Chargers defense as well stepped up, shutting down the Broncos offense for the most part in the second half, and they're 9-6. So I had them at 9-8, and they might get more than 9 wins this year. They might get 11 with the Raiders and the Patriots left on their schedule. So, yeah. But anyways, make sure to check out all the other shows as well. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video. And I hope everybody has a good Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. You celebrate the holidays. I hope you enjoy it with your family, because I know I definitely will. I hope everybody enjoys it. And I'll see you guys before the new year. So, as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy all of the games that we got going on these next couple of weeks. And I'll see you guys on December 30th. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit and the coffee